This is Community Unity Now, the D-Tycoon Show. This is Bill Morton, President of the Rogers Park Chamber of Commerce. I am Trudy Leong, Administrator of the Rogers Park Chamber of Commerce. And our very special guest today from Memphis, Tennessee is Bernard Brisco. He was in prison for 20 years for a life sentence, but he was released. Welcome, Bernard.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, first of all, you did get released, but could you tell our viewers the background? What it was like 3 strikes? Could you, if you don't mind, could you tell us about the 3 strikes and then what happened?
And also include what city you were in, please.
Yes.
Okay. I'm originally from Chicago, Illinois, and I had moved to Madison, Wisconsin, maybe a 2-hour drive away from Chicago. And I had prior minor drug offenses in Chicago and one in Madison, Wisconsin. I received 3 years in Chicago on a drug sentence with a small amount of drugs under maybe 3 grams of rock cocaine. And then I caught a case in Madison, Wisconsin where I had maybe was caught with like 7 grams of crack cocaine, and I had 4 years on that sentence. So that led me later on, maybe 10 years down the line with those prior convictions, to receive on my federal case a mandatory life sentence in Madison, Wisconsin.
And you said that there was an article about you having a co-defendant too. So,
Yes.
So was he also on the 3-strike system? Was he also serving a life sentence?
Well, I had several co-defendants, but one is Ernest Brooks. He received a 30-year sentence because he pled out. I went to trial in the case, so with that, they held me more responsible as a lead organizer of the case. But Ernest Brooks received a 30-year sentence. Me and him got the bulk of the time. Other co-defendants was pushed back in the state, got 7 years, and a lot of people got off completely for their cooperation in the case to testify against me.
For all the three cases against you, were they felonies or were they misdemeanors?
No, they was felony drug convictions, small amounts of drugs, very small amounts of drugs. Mm-hmm. And in the federal case, there was no physical evidence against me per se. Ernest Brooks had sold to undercover 50 grams of rock cocaine, which is maybe like a handful of size of drugs. But they had co-defendants of things. Speaking of, they call it in the federal system ghost dope, which was 5 keys of ghost dope that never was presented in the trial, and they used that to trigger the life in prison as well.
So they sentenced you without the dope?
Without the 5 keys of dope. They had the 50 grams that Ernest Brooks and others sold to the undercover officer, and they superseded and indicted me on that case. And by me going to trial, I mean, they contributed all those drugs that was sold by other people to me as the leader organizer, which led them to convict me of conspiracy of count 1, and I had 7 other counts, which was I got like 40 years for distributing of those 50 grams, another 40 years for maintaining and dwelling a drug, other counts, which I got 40, and 20, which actually added up to like almost 200 and something years plus the life sentence. So, but it was all around with the life sentence. All of that fell under the life sentence. So with my life sentence, due to Donald Trump, President Trump, what he had done when he got in office led me to be able to give the life sentence back, and here we go.
Okay, was that in 2018 or something? And was that concerning the First Step Act?
Yes, that was the ending part of the First Step Act. Actually, President Barack had the first part where he released a lot of inmates and prisoners in the federal system. but it didn't affect me at that time. So what Trump signed actually gave me compassionate release, which allowed me to come home to my dad. I had an aging dad. I made it home just in time because he passed like a year and a half ago. So I was released to come down to the South from Chicago and Wisconsin to take care of my dad, which was called a compassionate release, which was a part of that bill that Trump signed.
So, what did this process of getting out of prison look like? What did you have to do, and who helped you along the way?
Oh my God, it's so many people to thank. It was a fight. We call it in the federal system. It was a dog fight. And God Himself. Me personally, I'm a spiritual man. I'm a believer, so I know that God had the last say so in it. But it was like I said, it was hard. I wanted to give up many times, but when I got, I thought I was maybe the only one that had a life sentence in the Fed for a nonviolent drug offense. But when I got there, it was thousands and thousands of men from all over the country with these sentences, right? So they took me under their wing and took me to the library and just showed me and told me, Bernard, they called me black, say it's gonna be a fight, bro. You gotta stay in these books. And I did, and I got discouraged after about 12 years. But if you don't win your direct appeal, which your direct appeal come up maybe the next 18 months or so, you don't get back on your direct appeal, it's going to be a drawn out fight from there, and which it was, because I didn't win my direct appeal. My daughter also in that, I believe my daughter was 4 or 5 when I left. She actually became an attorney, graduated from Howard, and she helped out a lot in my case. My daughter, Bernard Brisco, and my lawyer that got me out, Shelly Fite, out of Madison, Wisconsin. She's a fighter. She stepped in, and I finally got to meet her maybe a few months ago in person. And she told me, Bernard, if you didn't get out, if I didn't come in then, likely I'll still be there now, because they're doing some changing with all this political stuff that, they done closed that gate. They done closed that window. So I got out in the nick of time. More likely, she told me just recently, a few months ago, we didn't move fast, I would still be in there serving a life sentence.
And Shelly Fite, was she with an organization? How did you meet her? How did she come to help you?
Well, I have been hearing about her name because she's an attorney out of Wisconsin. I have been hearing her name and reading her name in certain cases that I would read and study. And I'm not quite sure who case she took on. I believe she took on my co-defendant, Ernest Brooks' case first. And she was able to free Ernest from his case like a year and a half before me. So when we knew that Ernest got out, my children, I called, my children told me, and I just broke down and cried. He got out. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You saw that there was a chance for you to take advantage of the compassionate release, right?
Yes.
Ernest. Mm-hmm.
Yes,
So then, who applied for that for you? Shelly, your daughter, and then how long did it take for you to get released after Ernest?
Well, I think I was released a little over a year after Ernest. Shelly was fighting day in and day out for maybe like 10 months, 12 months, with a little assistance from my daughter, communicating with my daughter, Tiana, and a few other people as well. But like I say, those are the two, and particularly Shelly Fite. She took my case to the top and got me some relief, me and my family some relief.
Mm-hmm. And by the top, she took your case to the top. Where is the top?
Well, the top I would say it got to in the president's hand, Donald Trump.
Ah.
I don't know per se that he saw over my case, but he actually gave the go-ahead to free me. He had some people probably look into the case. I doubt of him himself, but he had a team of people that said, okay, let's get this guy a second chance.
Did you have any idea when you were in prison, when you were incarcerated for all those years, that you would ever get out? Did you ever have hope? Did you ever think to have dreams or make plans for the future?
Yeah, I went in pretty strong. Like I said, I'm a believer. I have God-fearing parents and a great support team. I had 11 children that I knew I had to get back home to. So I went in pretty strong. I went in and educated myself. I went in and changed the way I thought. And I can't lie, after about 16 years, 13 years, I started getting weary. You know, I saw some of my family getting weary. My sister had been my greatest support after my mom passed, and she started getting weary. You know, and I had to just leave it in God's hands because it was out of my hands at that point because I had filed all my motions. I had filed to the Supreme Court and I lost everything. So if it wasn't for this bill that the political leaders put together, Democrat and Republican, and if Mr. Trump hadn't signed it when he signed it, more than likely we wouldn't be having this interview. So I'm definitely grateful to be free and able to sit with you guys and talk with y'all.
So it was the
Yeah.
compassionate release bill that Trump signed and that helped you get released.
Yes, the compassionate um, release, a part of the Second Chance Act or the First Step Act. All of it, that was a part of it that compassionate release goes in there. So that's what freed me. Other guys got out for other reasons of the same bill, but that was the one that freed me.
So the First Step Act is separate from the Second Chance Act, right? Then how are the two connected?
Well, I think after so many years, if it doesn't pass the House and the Senate, they get a chance to go rewrite it and critique it and bring it back in for them to vote on it. And so that's how I think that's how they added the compassionate release in there, which gave me a chance to get out through the signing of President Trump.
And what about the people who are like in your situation now in prison? Is there any hope for them? What do you have any advice for them to gain a release like you did?
Oh wow, yes, I'm still in communication with a lot of the guys. Are still there. I believe so, particularly for nonviolent offenses. You know, I'm sure something's going to come down the pipe a little later for them. When, I don't know. Even some of the men I know have violent offenses on their case, guys from the outlaw organization, so to speak. A friend of mine, RV, they wasn't harming citizens or nothing like that. It was, you know, rivals between bike organizations. These are great men. I believe they deserve a second chance. I know that this particular gentleman, if he's given a second chance, he'll do his community a great service. You know, I would be willing to bet to go back myself if they freed this gentleman, because he's a great person. He's an educating man. He do all sorts of programming and classes. So it's a lot of men been left behind that deserves a second chance.
And while you were in prison, putting together your case, studying, were there others with you that were in your shoes and also working toward the same goal?
Oh, yes, ma'am. Plenty of guys. Like I say, a lot of those guys took me under their wings. And our hangout is the law library. Most of these men spend day in, day out in that law library learning their cases. Like I said, I had a drug case, so there was no need for me to study bank robbery case or, you know, fraud cases. So we have different groups in the law library studying their particular cases. There's some brilliant men in there, and a lot of them need to get out and be paralegals. A lot of them have got a lot of guys out. A lot of guys have helped get guys out. So I hope those guys keep up the good work and keep their head in those books, those law books.
Do you know of other of your fellow inmates that were also released as well?
Oh, yes, ma'am. So many of has been released. A lot of my older is myself. I was 32 when I went in. I'm 56 now. I'm going on my 4th year home. So it's a lot of guys coming home. Barack, like I say, he released a lot of my friends, a lot of them. And so did Trump. Trump just released a lot of men of every nationality across the country. Like I say, in the federal system, it's sort of segregated. But when you do so much time so long, with us older men, we become like family. Like I was telling you about the gentleman, RV, he's a white gentleman for the outlaw biker group out of Wisconsin. We're great friends. A lot of these guys still stay in touch with me. And I just try to motivate and inspire them to hold on and don't give up. A lot of these guys are in their 60s now. They was my big brothers, my white brothers. They was my big brothers. They groomed me to, you know, hold on. And when I left, I just want to tell this one last thing, and, you know, for RV, that the morning I was leaving FCI Oxford Federal Prison, I was crying, and he was walking me out, walking me to a dorm where I'd be being released from, and I just was crying. I felt really bad that I was leaving those guys. And he hugged me and he told me, Black, you know what this is called, what you're going through? I said, what RV? He called it soldier's guilt. Excuse me, y'all. It was soldier's guilt. And I said, if I ever wrote a documentary or a book on it, I got to use that term. Because I swear I didn't want to leave these men. I had been around them for 20 years, 19 and a half years. And I didn't feel so good. I wanted to take them guys with me.
No, it sounds like you had a second family there,
Yes.
working together.
So let's talk
Yes,
about
we
this.
worked.
Let's talk about the second chance here. Violent people who are in prison for violence. You mentioned outlaw bikers. I happen to know some outlaw bikers, and some of them are actually good people that I know that have been outlaw bikers. Do you believe that that when people are given a second chance that they will change their lives, or might they go back to it? What's your thought on that?
Well, my thought on that is, gentlemen, as we get older, they sort of know the statistics of the returning back to prison rate for men over 50 is like small, like 7%. Yes, some guys stumble and fall if they don't have the proper support group and, the resources to keep them from reoffending. But for the most part, men that done over 15 and 20 years and over the age of 50, 45, they don't reoffend. It's very rare. So if the resources is out here, guys like myself, people like y'all are there to open up doors for them to, find housing, jobs, it's rare that they'll reoffend. It's really rare. Even violent offenders deserve a second chance, in my opinion.
And then you spent a lot of time in the law library. Can you tell us something you learned at the law library that either helped you to get out of prison, or maybe just something that was really significant?
Well, what I really learned in law, the definition of words. You'll have to really study a Black Law Dictionary, is what it's called, and it's sort of tricky because it can read one thing and the word can have multiple meanings, where the courts sort of use it to their advantage, in my opinion, to like, okay, no, we didn't mean it that way. So that's the way they strike you down to hold you in there. Because you find a loophole in someone else's case. What we do is look over certain cases similar to ours. Like I say, in the word, they use it to their advantage to deny you success in the courts. So the Black Law Dictionary, studying the law dictionary helped, and I appreciate that.
So you believe that the prison industrial complex and the law system, or the attorneys, sometimes utilize the fact that people don't understand the terminology or the details, and sentence people without giving them the information or the knowledge?
Right, correct. Yeah, and I believe that everyone should study some form of law, in school without having to really pay for it, because how could we be held accountable for a crime or offense, either, a white collar crime or not, if we have no knowledge of the law? You're going into a situation blind, like with blindfolds, and trusting an attorney. And we have to remember, and I believe every family needs a family attorney. I mean, actually sending your children to law school, and every family needs a doctor for their family, because when you're dealing with the legal system, the attorney, which is an esquire or a lawyer, their first duty is to the courts first, not to you or me. So that's tricky. And I'm so grateful that I have a daughter that actually went and got a degree in law, and hopefully she can help a lot of people. Hopefully she's using her knowledge for good.
What did you mean by the lawyer's first duty is to the court and not to the client? Is that what you said?
Yeah, that's what I said. When they get their license, from the bar can disbar an attorney, if he do something that's inappropriate. But most times it's like, I think it's like like a, I don't know, like a secret oath or something that these guys are going on. And if you're, like they say that they'll barter one for another. Okay, I'll let this guy off. You give me this guy with the attorney or the judge, or even I'm not going to go so far with the judge just yet, but I know with the attorney and the prosecutor, because the state or the federal prosecutor is an attorney. He was an attorney first, so they will and deal, with people's lives and freedom like cattle. Like some of these people, some of these guys, like I'm not saying that I was completely innocent of my case, but a good attorney, if my daughter was my attorney now on that case, more than likely they couldn't have convicted me because she would have fought and argued the case as it was and put a lot of truth behind a lot of the twisted truth that led me to be convicted.
Got it. In other words, you were saying that in your case, the prosecutor and your attorney negotiated, and then somehow the other crimes, the other ounces got attributed to you because the whole group of defendants, the other ones pled out.
Yes. Well, my attorney really wasn't in my best interest, in my opinion. Peterson, Mr. Peterson out of Wisconsin, just a lot of objections he didn't do. What I know now, I could have represented myself better. I would have knew, the judge threatened to remove me from the trial for trying to communicate to my attorney, what questions to ask, what to object to. And when you go back and read over my case, you'll see that it's just a lot that he didn't object to. He let the government witnesses off the stand too soon without cross-examining them properly. So all that just left the jury to believe more so of the prosecution case. And my prosecution really wasn't that good. It wasn't that great. So like I say, the knowledge that I have of my case now, I think I stood a better chance to wouldn't have got off scot-free, but I wouldn't have got a life sentence, sure.
And did you have a public attorney, or were you paying this attorney? How'd that go?
Well, I wound up going with a public defender at the time. He was a public defender. I had spoke with a paid attorney out of Chicago, came to see me in Madison, Wisconsin. And I forgot his last name, but he told me, he said, Black, he said, man, he looked over my case. He's like, Black, if this was in Chicago, you could walk out of here with me today because the case was so weak. But he told me, unfortunately, you're in this very small town. You're from Chicago. They're not taking too kindly to that. And he said, he told me out of his mouth, it's like basically being in another country. And, at that time, I really didn't understand. I understood him, but it was new to me because I had no knowledge of the law. I was completely ignorant of the law. So I soon found out. I went to trial. They was trying to get me to plead out to 20 years. And by me not knowing the law then, even if I would have pled to the 20, I still would have winded up with 50, 60 years because I wouldn't have known what I know now, but actually making them agree to put a cap on my sentence, which would have been the 20. I didn't know that then until I got to the Fed. So it really wouldn't have mattered if I'd have pled to the 20 then, because they done it to Ernest Brooks, my co-defendant. He didn't know then. He pled to 15, wound up getting 30. So when I blew trial, I knew I was going to get like 50-something years because of my past background. But hey, I went in there and got life and almost 200 and something years.
Looking back now, we just have a couple of minutes left. Is there anything that you would suggest to families that would have helped prevent you from getting into the situation in the first place, getting involved in the drugs and then getting arrested?
Yeah, well, I think it starts at home. To parents, parents, we need to be more involved. Our children day to day. Don't be so busy with work. I know we all have to work to provide, but every day know where your children at, what they doing. Who are their friends? Bring them over, get to meet their friends' parents. And also, like I say, programs. Create more programs in the community. Get the kids involved. Keep them busy doing constructive things around like-minded people. Because an idle mind, as they say, is the devil's playground. If you leave these children to raise themselves when we're at work, bickering with our spouse, hey, our kids are out in the streets learning bad things. creating bad habits. So I would just say be more engaged with our children and give them positive outlets. That's what I'm looking to do now that I'm out. I want to create a safe, healthy place for the youth and for older people. We need to get out, get involved, work out together, run, fish, do things, to keep us from those things that's in the street, because the streets ain't fun. It's not fun.
Well, maybe you offered a good suggestion earlier about the kids needing to learn law.
Absolutely right. Create a law class in the community so they'll know what they're up against, and that'll deter you. When you know you can get a life sentence, you'll know. I think we all agree that, hey, when the consequences are that great, you'll be like, no, that fast money, the shiny things ain't worth it. The glitter and all the material things. So, yeah, we definitely need to put a legal course together in the communities, in all communities. Yes.
And I think that after all that you have read, you kind of could tell what is important for the young people and to know, families to know, that would be helpful to them.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
And what are you doing now?
Well, now, like I say, I'm going on my 4th year here soon. I believe the end of this month, and I'll be free. I've been working at the same job for the past 3 years in Mississippi at Nidec Motors. That's my first real job. So I'm loving it. I'm loving freedom. I'm loving being around family and friends. And I'm looking to just bring what my experience and what I've been through out here to prevent what happened to me and thousands of other men from happening to our children, my children, and our children.
And you're working with your daughter, Tiana, right, to do something for the community. I think we probably have very little time left. What are you and Tiana doing to advance your cause, to help early release, and then also to prevent incarceration in the first place?
Well, she had done something in the community in Madison, Wisconsin, where she's from. So I think we're going to reach back and go back to Madison to do something right now. She's an attorney in Washington, D.C., so she's been really busy because it's like her 2nd year of working at a firm in D.C. So when she gets some time, we're going to go back to Madison. I want to put together a spirit run with her, a spirit run where we run on the Lake of Monona of Madison, like Lakeshore Drive in Chicago.
All right. Well, Bernard Brisco, thank you so much for joining us on Community Unity Now, the D Tycoon Show, and telling us about your story. This is Bill Morton, President of the Rogers Park Chamber of Commerce. I am Trudy Leong, Administrator of the Rogers Park Chamber of Commerce. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you again next week.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
And blessings. All right.
Peace.